Hello, everybody. Just a couple of quick announcements before we get into talking about this new moon energy. Starting on the 26th of October, I'm going to be hosting a new fundamentals course series that is available for registration on a pay-per-class basis. If you're interested in further information on that, or if you'd like to register for only $27 per class, you can do that at the link you'll see above. In addition to that, my new intensive consultations, which are 2 hours long, are available on special offer for a limited time only. That information you'll find at the second link above. So how did you ever let things get this bad? Well, we know, number one, that you never had the intent to let things get this bad. As a matter of fact, you likely didn't know that things were bad at all. You likely felt that you were doing something that was righteous to start off with, and that you took certain steps that you felt were dharmically correct. And then next thing you know, little bit by little bit, you began to doubt the steps that you had taken. You began to question whether you made the right decisions, but you chose to just let's just kind of let that go for now, because maybe it's just me questioning my judgment, right? Maybe I didn't necessarily make the wrong decisions. Maybe I made right decisions, until things began to get just a little more difficult for you to deal with. And until now, where you find yourself in a moment where I've had just about as much of this as I can take, right? And now you're feeling like you can't really stomach another minute of what you've been putting up with in one area of your life or another. And to be fair, this is going to be different for each person, dependent upon where the new moon falls in your horoscope, other factors that might be interacting with different things in your horoscope. And again, you can schedule a consultation with me to find out more about those things. But you find yourself in a moment at present where you're trying to figure out the next steps that you should take. One part of you doesn't want to go the intense route, because, who wants intensity? Who wants to have to deal with something where you're needing to be, perhaps a little bit confrontational? We want things to shift and change smoothly, just because we begin to feel like it's time for a change. And when those changes involve other people, we want to just be able to say things simply and maybe have them, on their end, adjust their actions. But it's becoming painstakingly clear in one situation of your life or another that other people are not necessarily going to change that. And you can find yourself in a position where you're going, right, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. And you can do that if you really want. You may find yourself, if you're doing that, having to endure more and more difficult sets of circumstances. But, sometimes challenging astrology comes not because we're not supposed to, have the feelings that come with that challenging astrology, but because we are supposed to have those feelings that come with that challenging astrology. Quite often, frustration, anger, all the difficult emotions that people would just kind of like to pretend they don't exist and just kind of sweep them under the rug, they get kind of seen as being like bad or evil or wrong or non-spiritual. That's the word I'm looking for. And anger is spiritual. Everything in creation is spiritual. Frustration is spiritual. All those things are spiritual. And anger exists and frustration exists because it alerts us to the fact that something is out of alignment. Now, of course, we always have the choice to do what we choose to do with that factor that's out of alignment. But at the end of the day, if you then choose to just endure, well, you have nobody else to blame but yourself if it turns out in a manner that you weren't quite hoping for. So at the moment, you're going, do I employ the art of gentle persuasion in order to get things moving? Should I just kind of go, well, it would be really nice if this aspect of life could change. So could you kindly, please, very nicely make sure that you don't keep doing the thing that's just making my life a living nightmare? Or, you can go that route, or you can go, all right, that's it, I'm out the door, or, all right, that's it, I'm gonna like, say that it's either, my way or the highway. Which of those things should you do? That's probably what you're questioning at this particular moment in time. And, perhaps at the moment, you need to just be in questioning mode. You need to kind of feel that out, because with the energy that's present, there's a certain degree of limitation on what you can do, right? And there's only a certain little bit of what you can do. And it seems maybe to you like there's a whole lot that you can't do. So you're somewhat limited, at least you feel. But that feeling is what matters most. That feeling at the moment is what's defining your reality. So perhaps the best approach for you is to take the actions that you feel that you can for the moment, right? But don't just like sit and like twiddle your thumbs, or turn the television on and ignore like what it is that you're needing to do, right? Pay attention to what's going on. Take the action that you can, and as you're taking that action, right, pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on in your environment. Like, watch, wait, maintain awareness, always with an eye to the future and towards the changes that you want to create. Now, with this particular new moon, it's in Chitra Nakshatra. Chitra Nakshatra is symbolized by a pearl. And there's something quite special about the symbolism of a pearl, because it's a gem that forms around impurities. Now, there are two different sides of that. Sometimes something seems alluring when really it's not clean, or it's not clear, or it's not what it appears to be. That's likely what got you into this set of circumstances, is something being not quite what it appears to be. And if you're being persuaded to stay in this particular situation, it's likely because of the same, right? But at the same time, the moment you deal with what that seeming mistake was that you made, which at the end of the day ultimately isn't a mistake at all. You needed to go through this process so you could be at this particular moment in time. But the moment you work through that, that's the moment that you're left with a different gem. With Chitra Nakshatra, there's always the concept of ethics, or what's right, or what's true, and questioning that. And like I said, things can appear one way at one moment, and you get pulled along a path in a certain way. So then you're considering a different set of actions, but you're concerned again about being pulled along a very similar path. But this time it's different. So for the moment, as I mentioned, it may seem that your actions are limited. There's only so much you can do. But take those actions that you can for the moment. Watch and wait, and then pick your moment and pounce and jump on it, right? And do like what needs to be done. When the opportunity arises, don't miss it, right? Pay attention. Don't just ignore it. Don't just take an action and then go, okay, now I'm just going to ignore it. You have to pay attention. You have to watch the changes that result from the actions that you do take, well, in somewhat of a seemingly limited manner. Now, we're dealing with some really tense energy at the moment, because this particular new moon cycle is forming an aspect with both Mars and Pluto, and it's very intense energy. I don't usually, like, in a Vedic astrology video, I don't usually talk about Pluto before this year, but we're dealing with such an intense Pluto transit at the present moment that we haven't had since about 1771, I believe, sometime around there. So this is very powerful, life-changing energy, both on the personal and on the global level. So you need to pay attention to the actions that are happening in response to the actions that you're taking, right? You may feel a little bit vulnerable during this cycle. Don't recognize that that's just fear. You don't have to react to fear. You may feel really stressed out and frustrated. Use that stress, use that frustration as inspiration. And again, watch, wait, and choose your moment wisely. That's going to do it for this look at the new moon in Chitra Nakshatra, which takes place on the 16th of October, 2020. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Oh, yes, and one more thing, if you're interested in scheduling with me, especially the special offer on the intensive consultations, you can do that at the link you'll see above. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself again. Bye now.